Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk coming at you on a Tuesday. Going up in the capital city on 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our video stream available on our Facebook page, WIBW News, and on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. However you are consuming the show, thank you so much for being with us on this Tuesday afternoon. Dan Lucero, Brendan Rosinski, Spencer Dupuis. Long way to go and a short time to get there. We're only with you for 2 hours this afternoon as we'll give way at 5 o'clock to the Royals Baseball Network. The final road trip of the regular season begins tonight with a stop in the nation's capital for 3 games against the Washington Nationals. First pitch tonight at Nationals Park is set for 5:40, so we'll hand things off to the Royals Baseball Network at 5 o'clock. That means, again, we only have 2 hours with you instead of our usual 3. So we're going to fly right through some things today. We've got lots to talk about. There is a lot of angst, borderline panic in our listening audience. It has not been a particularly enjoyable last 72 to 96 hours if you care about one or many of the local teams. I can't imagine there's a lot of people who care about both KU and K-State. Maybe you've got maybe you went to one and your wife went to the other, or your kids go to the other. But if you're a KU or a K-State fan, you didn't enjoy Saturday very much. If you are a Royals fan, you're in total freak-out mode. And if you're a Chiefs fan, hey, your team's 3-0. What do you really have to worry about? Well, more than you'd like, even for a team that's 3-0. So with that in mind, I am slow to hit the panic button. So I will not call it the panic button, and I will not call it the panic meter. I will merely call it the concern meter. And we will see where things ought to rank on the concern meter, at least what we think. And of course, we'll want to hear from you throughout that segment as we talk about certain aspects of the Chiefs, Royals, Wildcats, and Jayhawks that have been of some concern in recent days and games. We'll talk about that and specifically about Travis Kelce, with one former ESPN analyst accusing the greatest tight end of all time of maybe not getting ready for the 2024 season as seriously as he should have. We'll tell you what Todd McShay had to say. I totally forgot Todd McShay was like a person. All due respect to him, I totally forgot that he was in any way like part of the sports discourse anymore.
Yeah, I saw. Where is he these days? Is he over at the Ringer?
That was the rumor he was going to join the Ringer.
Yeah, I
totally forgot he left ESPN.
Yeah,
because we only see him like
he was just
during draft coverage.
He was just the draft guy, right?
Yeah.
So now I guess he's doing some other things, and one of those things apparently taking a blindside shot at Travis Kelce. So we will get to that a little bit later on in the program today. Talk about last night's Monday Night Football games. We were talking about it in the group chat last night. Thank God this show is only 2 hours, lest we get overrun by 580 Jaden Daniels talk. I have never seen Spencer in a better mood. I would describe our friend Spencer Dupuis today, our resident Washington Commanders fan, as buoyant based upon what he saw last night. And that is not a term I throw around lightly. Positively buoyant today. So, Spencer, we're going to let you speak your truth, say your piece about what we saw last night in, I got to say, one of the best football games of the young season.
Yeah, I have to say, this is the happiest and best I've woken up post late night primetime game in a very, very long time for my favorite team.
Thrilled for you, made up for you, really am. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about the other Monday Night Football last night. The Bills look awesome and the Jags look cooked. And
there's no look about it. They are. That team's broken. You can tell. You can tell when a team is broken, and that team is broken.
The Jaguars are cooked. Are the Bengals also cooked? They're 0-3. Not a lot of precedent for 0-3 teams going to the playoffs. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. Talk some NFL. We'll get to our headlines in the 4 o'clock hour, including a preview of this Royals Nationals series. We'll go in depth, and I'm using air quotes, with resident Nationals insider Spencer Dupuis. Again, big day on the show for Spencer.
Yeah.
His local knowledge will be called upon multiple
DMV
times.
Sports Insider Spencer Dupuis.
Today. Yeah, it's real shame K-State or KU isn't playing Marshall this weekend. Otherwise, you'd really be in your pomp. Anyhow, we'll preview tonight's game. Cole Reagan's hoping to do what Tarek Skubal just did for the Detroit Tigers. In case you have missed it, the Tigers already into the win column today, beating the Tampa Bay Rays by a 2-1 final score, which means that as things stand right this second, the Royals hold the third wild card by a game over Minnesota and are half a game behind Detroit for that number 5 seed. So Skubal was awesome, 7 shutout innings. Hopefully Reagan's can do the same, because as far as I know, the Royals in the last 48 hours have not been able to discover a way, because it has baffled teams for the entirety of the history of baseball, have not been figured out a way to win without scoring any runs. So unless they've uncovered one in the last 48 hours, and I have my doubts, Cole Reagan's going to have to be real, real good again for the Royals. And we'll talk a little bit more, speaking of the concern meter, about that Royals offense. We have some other headlines. We'll talk to Michael Swain of Fog.net, 24/7 Sports Network for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael checks in with us every Tuesday. We'll get his thoughts on where KU goes from here. Is their season salvageable after their loss at West Virginia last Saturday? That's coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We got some What Is Wrong With You and some Random Question Tuesday as well. Again, lots to talk about and not a lot of time to do it here in the next 2 hours here on 580 Sports Talk. You can, as always, interact with the program. Those are invited and encouraged. Your comments, you can hit us on the Top City Metal Supply text line. That number is 785-272-9429. You can also chat with us on YouTube if you're watching live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. And if you're not, you should check it out. If you've never done that before, if you've always just listened to the audio version of the show, maybe you're sitting at work or at home and you got the radio on, or you're listening on your phone, why not try the video stream sometime on 580 Sports Talk on YouTube? Because you can subscribe to the YouTube, and we'd love to see the subscriber numbers go up. But you can also interact with us and your fellow listeners to the show in the YouTube live chat. So lots of ways that you can be a part of today's program. And we do invite you to be a part of this opening segment because, folks, like I said, it has not been a terribly fun last 72, 96 hours of sports around these parts. The Royals are fading. KU is reeling. K-State got embarrassed. The Chiefs, well, they're 3-0. They're back-to-back Super Bowl champions. They've got champagne problems, which are arguably not problems at all. But there are some things that I think are of real concern. And that's why, frankly, I downgraded. I was going to call this segment the panic meter. I downgraded it to the concern meter. And on the concern meter, I'm curious how you guys are gonna parse this out a little bit. But do you guys remember the Homeland Security threat levels? Like when that was a big deal?
I do not.
The colors?
Yes, the colors. Yeah. So
I don't. I'm unfamiliar.
So there are 5 colors on the Homeland Security Advisory System. You've got your threat level green, which is low. That's a low risk of low concern. Then you have threat level blue. That would be guarded, like a general level of concern. Threat level yellow is elevated. That would be significant concern.
So you're saying we live in blue, basically?
No.
Not when this came out, we didn't. I'll tell you.
No, it was much higher than that for many years.
Yes.
Multiple presidential administrations.
Yes. We sat in orange for a while there. Orange is high. That would be what we would call our high concern. And then there is at the very top, threat level red, DEFCON 1, if you'd rather, a severe concern. So that's how I've kind of decided to attack this, is with the Homeland Security Advisory System now becoming the area sports fan advisory system for concern. So let's start with the Chiefs, because I think we can all agree concern is relative. Like, the Royals have 6 games to get it right or they're going to miss the playoffs. KU needs to win 5 of their next 8 games or they're going to miss a bowl. K-State has lost their wiggle room for making the college football playoff in a path that doesn't involve them winning the Big 12. The Chiefs are 3-0, very early in a season in which they're already the 2-time defending champions. So their concern level for all of this is relative. But like I pointed out, there are still some things that are of at least, I think, mild concern. Even if it is just threat level green, it is still mild concern. So let's start with the Chiefs, and we'll come back around to him later on this hour, with Travis Kelce's production. Travis Kelce, as we know, is the greatest tight end we've ever seen, but it has been a very slow start to this season. You're keenly aware of it. You're probably even more keenly aware of it if you own him in fantasy football. 8 receptions on 12 targets in 3 weeks for 69 yards, no touchdowns. That's 8.5 yards per reception. Kelce has never averaged lower than the 10.5 yards per reception he averaged last season. It has been an extremely slow start, and the offense has slumped without him. How concerned are we about Travis Kelce's lack of production?
I'd put it at yellow, mid-tier, DEFCON 3, if you will. I think it's, on one hand, you can say it's early in the year. The matchups against the safety groups, defensive backs groups from other teams have not been perfect for him. Okay, fine, understandable enough. I think it is also fair to say that the concept of aging gracefully doesn't, really exist in the NFL. Like, name a tight end that aged gracefully.
Tony Gonzalez.
Okay. Top 3 tight end to ever live. Name another.
Vernon Davis.
I don't know that.
No. Vernon Davis's last year totally cratered.
Vernon Davis actually died when Cam Chancellor snatched his soul in one of those Seahawks 49ers games in the early 2010s. And
well, let me check this, because I don't want to get wrong information, because he played for your team at the end.
He did. He played for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He only played 4 games. Yeah. Like, his last full season, he caught 25 passes in 14 games. Like, I would not consider that aging gracefully. Now, he did make it into
Well,
his
I don't
30s.
think he was the main target.
Well, no, but
They had Jordan Reed on those teams.
if you start 8 games and only catch 25 passes, I would consider that bad. Personally, I would consider that not good. But that he was right about the same. He's actually a good case study, because he retired at 35 years old, or after his age 35 season, which is right about how old Travis Kelce is right now. Most guys do not. You know what happened to Rob Gronkowski, the other guy with the argument for best to ever do it, along with Tony G and Kelce? His body completely fell apart. He was like Mr. Potato Head if you dropped him on a hardwood floor. Just body parts everywhere.
But hey, no, Rob, that's not fair. Rob Gronkowski's much older than. Actually, I'm being told Rob Gronkowski and Travis Kelce are the same age.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
right?
They are the same age.
So the guy, tight end, especially because it is such a physical position, there aren't a lot of guys who, again, age gracefully. Jason Witten came back and was useless after he had retired.
Right.
And he was
never the caliber of player that Kelce was. Not even on his best day was he the caliber of player Travis Kelce was.
No, the only other one from recent vintage, like, you could argue Antonio Gates, because, I mean, he was really, really good for a really long time. But even for him, like, his last 2 years, he caught a grand total of 58 balls in 32 games. Like, that, for a guy who once was first team All-Pro 3 consecutive years, a bit of a fall off there. This happens to tight ends. This happens to NFL players in general most of the time. So I think you just sort of have to be on high alert that this is a possibility that he could get there. I don't know. Maybe he's not in great shape. Maybe he took off-season stuff,
not as seriously as in the past.
I don't know. I cannot say for certain, because I don't know the guy. I don't know what his routine looks like. Go ahead.
Also, I want to go back to your comparison to Gronk. Gronk got drafted 3 years before Travis did.
Yeah.
So he had 3 more years service time on his body.
And he was never durable anyway. Like, it's funny. He and Kelce are such different players. The way they came into the league, the way they were used early on, their style of play, and the fact that
Gronk was only started 16 games once.
Yeah. No, he was
twice.
fragile.
Excuse me, twice. Once with Tampa and once his second year.
And that stands in obviously great contrast to Kelce's durability. That's why I'm at like a threat level blue. I would say guarded concern, general.
That's where
concern.
I'm at. I'd be more concerned this weekend without Derwin James if
they can't get him going against.
They can't get him going against them
that he's feasted against over the course of his career. All right, so threat level blue-ish. For Travis Kelce on the concern meter. How about the left tackle spot for the Chiefs? We've seen them now bench the second rounder, Kingsley Suamataia. It sounds like it's going to be Wanye Morris at least next week, and we'll see where things go from there. I am at I'm at a concern level orange with this because I do think the pass protection from that side has really limited what the Chiefs can do offensively, and it's made them a whole lot less explosive. You had this stat earlier, Brendan. You brought it to me. It blew my mind.
The Chiefs have the second worst explosive play rate in the NFL. That is a run of 10 or more yards, a pass of 20 or more yards, pass play of 20 or more yards. They are second worst in the NFL at under 6% through 3 weeks. The only team worse, the Chicago Bears. For reference, you might say, well, 6%, what is the context of that? The Bears are last at 3.3%. They are way behind everybody else. A bunch of teams are just over 6. Green Bay leads the NFL through 3 weeks at 14.1%. So, it's not like, oh, they're at 5.8 and the rest of the league is at 40. No, that's not how it works. But they are still second to last, 31st out of 32 teams. I am going to go with yellow here, and this is going to sound a little surprising. I would consider this an uncommon take. I think the left tackle problem is overrated.
Okay.
You've got, is it bad? Yes, it is bad. I think they can cobble the two of them together and be okay over the long haul this season. I think there is something else that is a problem with this offense. Now, I don't know what that is. So, unfortunately, I can't make a great argument for you for my point.
It's not the signal caller himself, like Matt Verderam noted yesterday.
Well, it's part of it. He's not playing well. But...
Yeah, I guess that's part of my point. I don't know if it's the fundamental thing like Mahomes is talking about. I don't know if it's Andy Reid being too stubborn with play calls. I don't know if it's a communication thing. The rest of the receiver room isn't good enough. Maybe they put way too much on Hollywood Brown and now they're sowing what they were reaping prior. I don't know exactly what it is, but even if it's your left tackle, even if it's your blindside protector, I have a hard time believing that your team would be the second least explosive in the NFL because of one player. I think it's an issue. I think it is a sizable issue, although Morris was fine this weekend.
Yeah.
I feel like there is something else. I don't know what that is, but I feel like there is something else that is of bigger concern.
I would say it's a threat level, like it's elevated to a yellow right now. I think that benching Kingsley the way they did is definitely going to hurt him mentally as a rookie. And if they need to go back to him, it could not help him in the stands of if Wanye were to get hurt and he's going to jump in and he's down on himself because he got benched.
All right, you guys have talked me into maybe being a little less
But also,
concerned.
If we're going to listen to the wise words of Chris Collinsworth, the only reason Kingsley Suamataia was named the starter at left tackle was because Wanye Morris was hurt in the preseason. And he said as much during the broadcast. That the only reason that Wanye didn't start the first couple games was because of his injury in preseason.
That's fascinating.
And I'm like, huh?
I don't know necessarily.
I also think it's wrong.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, huh?
Kind of think that's incorrect. Tyler weighing in on Kelce in the YouTube live chat says, I don't think it's a problem right now. Need him for the postseason. Let the rookies carry the load, get the reps. If you could load management Travis Kelce, that would be great. I think it is the plan to load manage Travis Kelce. I also don't think it's the plan to only throw him the ball 12 times in 3 weeks either.
You got Noah Gray, who you just signed an extension with, who's getting a little bit more in the offense as well.
That's all true. All right, moving off of the Chiefs, let's go to the Kansas City Royals. The Royals offense right now, where are we at threat level wise with them? Before you answer, let me give you this stat. In the month of September, the entire month of September, you look at the contenders and what their top 4 slots are doing in the lineup. John Boy, Twitter user, baseball.
John Boy Media.
Yes, John Boy Media. He tweeted this. Spots 1 through 4 in the lineup in the month of September. The Dodgers have the best OPS from that group of players.
Makes sense.
Over 900, 939. Yeah, 3 Hall of Famers, right?
Yeah.
Looking at other contenders, Detroit at 762, bottom half. Cleveland hasn't been very good, 688. Baltimore's really struggled at the top of the order. The Royals' combined OPS, the top 4 hitters in their order in the month of September, is 597. That is worse than Garrett Hampson's season OPS, I believe.
And that's why it's a threat level.
That's why it's a red.
Red.
It is real severe. The big guns aren't going right now for the Royals. And we've said it all year. I've said it all year. Starter goes deep, big dogs eat. Big dogs aren't eating.
I disagree. I do not think this is threat level red. I think we are a country at war. Like,
you think this is the Last of Us?
Yeah. Like, seriously, I know we have the context of we've watched this team all season. We know what these guys are like. We know what they, we know who they are. We know what they are. I just invite you to try to step back for a moment, divorce yourself of knowing all the nitty gritty details about the 2024 Kansas City Royals and look at tonight's starting lineup. Like,
Garrett
don't
Hampson's
think about
playing second base.
Well, they've got these holes. They've done this, and well, Fermin had a good stretch, and well, Tommy Pham has done. No, man, this is going to be one of the 3 or 4 worst lineups in all of Major League Baseball today. And they've got the second best player in the American League hitting second.
Yeah,
like that. That's bleak. It is.
Pretty grim right now.
Like, you don't want to limp into the postseason, but the Royals are in a spot where they kind of have to limp in if they're going to get in at this point.
I think Joe has it right in the YouTube live chat. There's no color dark enough for the threat level
black
for the Royals. How about we move to K-State? Let's keep this moving along on the concern meter here. Where are we on Kansas State's defense?
Oh, big picture, I just put it blue. I'd say guarded. If we're saying secondary specifically, I'd bump it up to yellow. But all things considered, I like I said yesterday, I'm leaning on the coaching staff. Joe Klanderman is really dang good at his job. I think the linebackers have been good for the most part. I think the defensive front has been really good. They were just freaking out about Uso Seumalo during the ESPN broadcast on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Fleming couldn't get enough Uso Seumalo in that game. I think it's mostly a good unit and will continue to be. There are flaws, yes, but I'm big picture not really worried about them.
Yeah, we weren't worried about them after what they did to Arizona at home. I think they can get right against Oklahoma State at home. The touchdown drives they gave up against BYU were all shorter than 45 yards. Yeah. Like, I think you can overstate some things. Tough to play back against the wall the way that they had to play. And obviously, that last touchdown run they gave up to the third stringer where they missed like 10 tackles, that was not a good way to end the night and the competitive portion of the night. But I still think by and large, this is a group with enough talent to get things figured out. How about the K-State passing game? I'm on threat level green here. I think they're going to get it figured out. I know I said yesterday it hasn't felt real functional, didn't feel real functional against BYU. They're going to miss Braden Lofton a lot, I think, but now they know he's out. Instead of having to replace him on the fly, they can work to get the other tight ends available to catch the ball. If what they said in the preseason about this wide receiver room is to be believed, and I trust our sources, I trust our K-State guys who said, no, there's real talent in this room. Once they get comfortable, once Avery gets comfortable, I think they'll hit a stride. I don't think this is going to be a long-term all-season problem.
I don't think it'll be a long-term all-season problem either. I will bump it up one level higher than you on this one as well. Not because I think it's a bad group and not because I don't believe in Avery Johnson, but there is clearly a disconnect here, and you need to nip that in the bud as soon as possible so it does not become a longer-term issue.
So you're the tie-breaking vote here, Spencer. Is it green or blue?
I don't know. If you talk to me next week, I don't know if they just laid an egg on a night game in a different atmosphere, or if it's something that's going to become a habit. Right now I have to stick with blue.
Okay, we'll call it blue. General concern about the K-State pass game. All right, finally on the concern meter, we move over to Kansas State, or rather Kansas. We're talking Kansas now. KU in the fourth quarter of football games. They have let 3 in a row get away. Where would you put this, Brendan?
To be honest with you, blue almost bordering on green. I'm not worried about the defense. I'm not worried about the fourth quarter. I'm not. There are 2 people that are both on threat level red right now. And I know we're going to get to them in a moment. But honestly, fourth quarters, I'm not sweating it. Blue on a bad day, green on a good day. I'm not worried about that particular unit.
Okay.
If Brendan's not worried,
then I'm not worried.
Then I'm not worried because he's our resident K-State guru. I
just, like we talked about with the Chiefs, like winning becomes a habit, right?
Yeah.
What you worry about, I think, for KU is does losing like this become a habit?
Yeah. Well, let's just transition to the last point here. And Paul puts it perfectly on the YouTube comments. Fittingly for KU, the threat level is crimson. Tyler says beyond Armageddon. Yeah, I mean, The offense, it looks broken right now. Like something is wrong with Jalen Daniels. I don't know what it is. Something is wrong. Something is wrong with Jeff Grimes. I don't really think what he is trying to call clicks especially well with the pieces KU has on the offensive side right now. And running game has been really good. But other than that, I mean, the passing game it's not dysfunctional. It is non-functional right now.
Do you think
until that gets
Daniels
fixed, I'm not
broken?
worried about anything else. Like, I'm not worried about the fourth quarter because that shouldn't be a problem. Like, we shouldn't have to worry about this. This is a team we thought could have the best offense in the Big 12, one of the 10 best in the entire country. But shouldn't matter.
I don't think, to answer your question, I'll answer your question, Spencer. I don't think Jalen Daniels is broken. No, I think he is not the player that we saw in September of 2022. And I think there are a lot of valid reasons for himself that he's not that player, but I also think that the play calling is very suspect, and there really does feel like a disconnect right now between the huddle and who's calling the plays. Yeah. It feels very disconnected. So that is our concern meter right now. We're actually going to throw that up on our Twitter. I've been putting it together here in very shoddy MS Paint. So we'll throw together the concern levels for everything we've talked about. We'll put it up on our Twitter account. You can follow us on Twitter at 580 Sports Talk. Right now, though, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. More about Travis Kelce. Todd McShay thinks he's fat. He's out of shape. We'll discuss next as we get things rolling from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on 580 Sports Talk. .36 on 580 Sports Talk. We're just getting started on this Tuesday edition. A reminder, we are off at 5 today for Royals baseball. Royals Nationals, game 1 of the series in D.C. tonight. Mark's bringing the positivity. Just get 2 against the Nats, 2 against the Braves. Easier said than done. Braves aren't going to throw their 3 best starters at the Royals, so got that going for them. No Sale,
That's nice.
no Schwellenbach. That's pretty good.
Think Sale's going to win the Cy Young in the National League?
I do. I think they're going to give him the Lifetime Achievement Award, Cy Young, because he's never won one, and he's
kind of crazy.
Great enough to win one this year. Kind of a second act to his career. Even though I think Zach Wheeler of the Phillies has been better, it's not by so much that I would be upset if they gave it to Sale.
From 2012 through 2018, 7 seasons, Sale never finished worse than 6th in Cy Young voting, but also never finished higher than runner-up. He received MVP votes 4 times and was an all-star all of those years. Led the majors in Ks per 9 multiple times, fielding independent multiple times, had 6 complete games one of those seasons, regularly got over 200 innings pitched, led the majors in Ks a couple of times. He's one of this era's greatest pitchers. But he never quite was able to break through. But I think he's going to get it done. There, 18 wins, an ERA of 2.38.
If he'd managed to just stay on the mound even a little bit, like the last 3-4 years, instead of missing so much time, we'd be talking about a Hall of Fame case for Chris Sale. I really think we would.
Think we might anyway.
The bar is lower for a lot of reasons for this era's starting pitchers. You can't just put no more starting pitchers in the Hall of Fame because nobody's going to win 200 games anymore. Right? Like, because nobody's going to win 200 games anymore. Like, it'd be really, really hard to stick around long enough and pitch deep enough into games to win 200 games. So if that's the standard, nobody's going to meet it. So yeah, we'll have to kind of change how we evaluate who was a Hall of Fame starting pitcher.
Yeah, because he's 35 right now, and he's only at 138 wins. Like, he's not going to get there.
No.
But he has thrown 2,400 strikeouts. His advanced metrics are even better than his baseball card stats.
If he gets to 3,000 strikeouts and 150 wins and collects a Cy Young, he's gonna have a conversation. There's gonna be a conversation about him. Anyhow,
he's in the Scissor Hall of Fame.
Yes, he is. He destroyed his team's alternate uniforms before a game 1.
The Weird Baseball Hall of Fame.
That is what happened. Speaking of future Hall of Famers, Travis Kelce. We talked about him on our concern meter. The general consensus here is it's general concern about Kelce. Just age, because Father Time is undefeated. And maybe this is what happens. Maybe this is just the aging curve, the bottom end of the aging curve for Travis Kelce. But he has defied a lot of conventional logic over the course of his career. He's been incredibly durable, and a lot of the stuff he can do is not necessarily stuff that relies on athleticism. It just relies on savvy and being a big guy and also having a mind meld with his quarterback. So, like, I still think there's something in the tank. Todd McShay, formerly of ESPN, doesn't think that Travis Kelce filled the tank before this season began. He went on Ryan Russillo's podcast.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. What a collection of words. I think they put the Ryan Russillo podcast on at Guantanamo, honestly, as a form of punishment.
If I may say something really quickly, because I know we have a point to actually make here, and I hate to be crass. No sports media outlet loves the smell of its own farts more than the guys at the Ringer.
People love Ryan Russillo, and he was an SVP merchant. That's what he was.
Yeah, I love listening for 6 hours a week to the guy who was the sidekick to Scott Van Pelt for 6 years.
So this is what McShay said about Travis Kelce. Quote, "Every broadcast I've watched for the last few weeks, it's like, are we not allowed to say that he's out of shape, that he's been partying all off season? He's been jet-setting around with the most famous person probably in the entire world, that he's drinking, going to the U.S. Open. He's got cocktails in," end quote. Now, McShay got some pushback. Ryan Russillo says, look, just because the guy has a few pops at a tennis tournament doesn't mean he's out of shape or a bad athlete. But McShay continued on. Quote, "What I do know is I want you to take a picture from preseason 2022 and then take a picture preseason 2024. They're barely the same human being, Ryan. And everyone's like, we got to get him the ball. Why isn't he part of the offense? The defense is double covering him. Here's the thing. Bottom line with Kelce, the coverage and the respect he gets is the same. The athlete is not. He's not in the same shape. He's not the same. I don't see the same explosiveness. I see him wearing it down a bit in game. I do think one thing that McShay says is valid there. I do think that the coverage and the respect is the same, and the is probably in a little bit of physical decline. But
that's natural, though.
Yes, that happens to everybody. I don't think this is Travis Kelce spent the whole summer being in movies and hanging out with Taylor Swift and going on stage with her and like not getting ready to play. Like, what's the one thing everybody says about Travis Kelce? Is that he's a fun-loving guy off the field, but when it comes to being about his business, about football, nobody is more about it than he is. So it would stun me if there were any credence to the idea that he wasn't in appropriate shape. I don't believe that at all. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to go through the Zapruder film of how Travis Kelce looks today versus a couple of training camps ago, I mean, sure, he's a little bit different, but to say they don't look like the same person, dude, come on. Like, I'm literally looking at a picture of him from preseason 2023 and a picture of him from this weekend right now, or 2 weekends ago right now. I am looking at them switching between tabs.
Same person.
Very much like the same person, but he had 3 muffins for breakfast. Like I look like that after I have a big meal too.
Yeah,
dude.
it feels like McShay wants to make the old women weakened legs argument without actually making that argument because he knows he can't because it's 2024.
No, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's part of it here.
I think it's nonsense.
Now, I should note he is not the only person who thinks this. Todd McShay is not. It is significant. We've got audio here, Spencer. Let's go to NFL insider Big Papa Pump. Scott Steiner, we've got him on the horn right now. Scott, what do you think the issue with Travis Kelce is right now?
He's fat!
Okay, well, there you go.
One of my favorite drops of all time.
That's the second best Scott Steiner audio after, of course, Steiner math.
But I'm not normal. I'm a genetic freak.
I'm not normal.
Well, hopefully Travis Kelce is not normal and can get back to his career norms real soon for this.
Kurt Angle knows he's not going to beat Travis Kelce, and he's not even going to try.
We'll talk some more NFL on the other side of this break. Monday Night Football doubleheader last night. It was great for the Bills. It was really great for the Commanders. It was questionable for the Buccaneers.
Sorry, we got to get to this real quick from John on YouTube. I'm 20% positive Taylor introduced Kelce to having a good time. That dude was straight-laced before her.
Is Taylor Swift a bad influence? Coming up
straight-laced before her?
Coming up next on
Didn't he get
First Take.
suspended in college?
It's a joke.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
That's the joke. We're going to take a break, come back, talk some NFL after this on 580 Sports Talk. Back on 580 Sports Talk. Monday Night Football double dip last night. Can't call it a doubleheader. Both games were on at the same time, although the Bills and Jags did us all a favor.
Yeah, their competitive moments were not at the same time.
That game was non-competitive by the time Commanders-Bengals kicked off. So let's get that one out of the way first. The Bills look awesome. And Josh Allen is playing the best football of his career through 3 games.
I have to say, I had a bad take on them. I said they weren't going to have a good year this year.
I
take that back already.
I think a lot of people thought, this might be a step back year for them. Maybe the roster's not as good. I mean, we still got to see them, make it happen for 17 games. They've already been dinged up on the defensive side, but it didn't matter last night. It won't matter if you score 40 points if Josh Allen's going to ball out of control like this.
Yeah, I should have put some dough down on my Josh Allen to win MVP pick a couple weeks ago. I will say this. The NFL bourgeois, the podcast ruling class, which I listen to a lot of those shows. I do. The Athletic and Yahoo and the Mina Kimes show. Like, I listen to all those every week. But there is this obsession with, like, hey, actually, their former, what's his name? Ken Dorsey was actually good. Like, look at the concepts he was running. He was actually good. He was a scapegoat. Joe Barry is actually, or not Joe Barry. Joe Brady is not actually all that good. There is something very important to be said for just empowering players to feel good about themselves and what they're doing game in and game out. And Joe Brady clearly does that. It's the same reason why Joe Brady got all that hype in the first place with 2019 LSU. It's like, hey, Joe, you want to go 5 wide, spread it out every play? All right, sure. Like, I believe in you. Go do it. And Joe Burrow, being one of the best college quarterbacks of all time, best seasons of all time, did it. Josh Allen, same thing. Like, Josh, you want to run? Fine, run. Like, if it's open, take it. If you feel like you can make a throw, Josh, go make the throw. I'm not going to overload you with scheme X's and O's crap. Just go play. And Allen looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like, truly incredible so far.
Yeah, he is off his gourd right now, and the Bills are one of 5 3-0 teams in the NFL. The Jaguars are 0-3, and that's over. Like, that era is over,
done.
Such as it was.
Might as well fire Doug
Peterson
right now.
Get ready to learn how to put those fries in the bag, partner, because it is over for him in Jacksonville. Now we get to the good game, and Spencer's been waiting all day for this. Commanders beat the Bengals in Cincinnati. We'll get to Cincinnati in a moment because they're the AFC team and they're the interesting 0-3 team. But I'll let Trevor in the YouTube comments say it. Jay Daniels is him. Holy Moses. That was the best quarterbacking I've seen in a Washington football uniform since we got like 30 seconds of RG3 before Mike Shanahan blew out his knee.
He accounted for more touchdowns than incompletions in this game. He had 2 incompletions, 2 passing touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown.
Yeah, he was incredible, man. I mean, the accuracy was there. It
wasn't no college offense. It wasn't no college offense, Cam Taylor-Britt. You can go back into your little cave because that was no college offense. 55-yarder down the field of Terry. That was the big question as a Commander guy. What were they going to do with Terry McLaurin? Was he able to do anything? What did he do? He just had 100 yards on the dot, 4 catches, 25 yards a catch, and a touchdown on a play
ceiling touchdown.
On a play that Jayden Daniels literally could have died.
I thought
cover 0 blitz.
No one else was talking about it after that game-sealing touchdown.
Mollywopped on that play
because the pass was perfect. You couldn't have handed it off better to McLaurin. Daniels got walloped, and he still completed it.
The story behind this is, if you watched, Luke McCaffrey looked confused as heck at the start of that play.
They all were. It looked like
because McLaurin told Cliff, I want the ball, go route. Yeah. And then so in the headset, he said, go route, Terry, right side. And that was the play.
That was cash. It was really impressive. The Commanders haven't punted in 2 weeks.
That's
incredible to consider. Last night's game, I couldn't believe this stat. Last night's game was the first game in the NFL with no turnovers and no punts since 1940.
That's wild.
Every drive ended in points or a turnover on downs or with the end of a half or a missed kick. There's a missed field goal in there from a kicker who normally doesn't miss. So, yeah, beautiful night if you're like Spencer, a Commanders fan, if you're a Jayden Daniels believer.
Our best player.
Hope you bought stock early because the price of the brick just went up for Jayden Daniels. We got to get to the Bengals real quick.
Our best player for the last 10 years.
I knew he wasn't going to
gave his number to Jayden Daniels, And ever since then, he's only had to punt like twice.
All right, real quick, let's go back to the threat levels. How big mess are the Bengals in? Can they recover from this?
Orange. But the thing is, like, it's not because of Burrow. Burrow was great.
No,
last
Burrow
night.
was awesome. That offense is just fine. There are no problems with that offense.
Yeah.
They can't stop anybody.
No, they are built for one thing. They're like your take on I think it's the Timberwolves in the NBA.
They're built
to beat
the
the
Minnesota
Nuggets.
Timberwolves were built expressly to dethrone the Denver Nuggets, and the Bengals
are built to slow down the Chiefs, and it worked. What happens when you play someone who does something different? You get last night.
0-3, horrendous vibes. I'm fascinated to see where it goes from here. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with a short round of Random Question Tuesday on 580 Sports Talk. All right, quick round of Random Question Tuesday here to wrap up this 3 o'clock hour. Tell me about something you're looking forward to. Could be anything, just something that you've got coming up that you're really looking forward to.
My wife's birthday is tomorrow, and I'm excited to wrap presents for her to then open.
That's awesome. Spencer, what are you looking forward to?
Going to my first ever NASCAR race Saturday.
There you go.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, that'll be a good time. I am looking forward to making dinner tonight. My wife and I have been doing that every plate, kind of like HelloFresh, and we're making ponzu pork meatballs over rice tonight.
Oh,
we have discovered we really love cooking with Asian spices because they taste amazing. So, yeah, excited for every night now we get to like make dinner at home. We get to do it together. Asher chills out in his little bouncer and just observes, and we make dinner together. It's a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that.
Very nice. Real quick for me, what NFL team would you least want to be a fan of right this second?
Right this second?
Yeah. This is mostly a vibes question.
Which one would I least want to be a fan of? Man, it's still got to be the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Even though I know they just won, but there's no hope. And when you have bad ownership, you have no long-term hope. Spencer, you're pretty aware of this.
Yes. Very aware.
Would you go with the Panthers?
Oh, yeah.
I will. I mean, they're the easy answer. I'll give you a dark horse answer. We just talked about in the last segment. Jacksonville. You got the prospect.
Yes.
The best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. The guy who is supposed to deliver you from the dark ages, which you have been in for all but 1 year of the last 15. And he's just a little better than just a guy.
That's tough.
That is a bleak place to be. Oh, by the way, your GM is Trent Baalke.
Yeah, grim present, grim future, no doubt. We got some Royals talk. Michael Swain will join us. What is wrong with you? All to come in the second and final hour. 580 Sports Talk next. Let's get it. Hour number 2 and the final hour today of 580 Sports Talk here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream. Our YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page to watch us is WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis, three-man power trio with you this afternoon. Again, we've got one more hour today. 5 o'clock, we're going to hand it off to the Royals Baseball Network. The Royals and the Nationals open a 3-game series tonight in the nation's capital. Could be a little wet this week on the Eastern Seaboard, and that really could play havoc with how this final week of games goes down. But, Spencer, you were telling us expect a window to get the game in at Nationals Park tonight?
Yeah, so Trenton and our former intern Trenton Craxner is like, there might be a doubleheader tomorrow, and I was like, hey, it can't be raining that hard. So I pull up my my weather, and it looks like it's raining now, but right around first pitch should be good to go for quite a few hours, and then I think it's going to rain a little bit overnight.
Well, that will be something else to really be keeping an eye on throughout the week, because there could be some nasty weather. That hurricane,
but yeah,
over the Atlantic could impact the games in Atlanta this weekend.
Well, also it might rain most of the day tomorrow, so
something to keep in mind. Certainly, as the Royals take on the Nationals these next 3 days.
But they're just going to Atlanta, so if they had to play a doubleheader on Thursday,
the travel wouldn't be as onerous.
Yeah,
but then we wouldn't get to do a show probably.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of sad.
Yeah.
So. Royals and Nationals tonight, again, pregame 5 o'clock, first pitch 5:40 this evening. It'll be the same game time tomorrow, so another short show for us tomorrow. Then a 12:05 first pitch on Thursday, so 11:30 pregame on Thursday, 11:30 a.m., and we should be on at our regular time from 3 to 6 on Thursday, barring extra innings or a rain delay or a doubleheader. Who knows? Anyhow, we're going to make the most of this final hour. We'll have 2 more stories on what is wrong with you to get to, and Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain from Fog.net, 24/7 Sports. We'll talk to him about what has gone wrong with the Kansas Jayhawks on the gridiron and whether or not it is salvageable the rest of the way. Michael Swain will join us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline coming up at the bottom of this hour. But we'll start the final hour of the show like we always start the final hour of the show, and we'll do it with our 580 Sports Talk headlines, and we'll start with the Royals, because they are in action, and because of the Tigers' 2-1 win over Tampa Bay earlier today, they are now half a game behind the Motor City Kitties for the second wild card spot in the AL, and find themselves with a 1-game lead over Minnesota in that wild card race. Cole Reagans is on the mound for the Royals tonight. You could handpick a starter. This would be the guy you'd want to try and set a good tone for this final road trip. The Nationals counter with another lefty, Mitchell Parker. Spencer, is Mitchell Parker good?
Yes, he's been pretty good this year. He's a rookie. He's one of the rookie pitchers that they've brought up. I believe they will see multiple of the rookie pitchers, 2 of the rookie pitchers this week. They'll see DJ Hers tomorrow before they see the final game of Patrick Corbin Thursday. But yes, Mitch Parker. I was going to say Mackenzie Gore. That is not the guy pitching today.
No,
Mitch Parker is pretty good. He's a young guy.
Okay.
So it might be on a pitch count tonight.
Looks like his ERA in his last 7 starts has been almost 7. So maybe running out of steam toward the end of his rookie season. You see that a lot with young guys.
Yeah, I think what ideally you would have liked to have Trevor Williams back earlier. They just got him back over the weekend, and then they also lost Josiah Gray for the whole season. So I don't think they had anticipated Mitchell Parker to pitch as many innings as he did.
All right. So I want 1-sentence scouting reports, 1 sentence, as I go down the list for the Washington Nationals starting lineup, because I'm going to be really real with you. I consider myself a pretty big baseball fan. There are guys on this roster, I don't know their first names. Like I can
good old September baseball for a team out of the postseason.
Yeah, usually I can go down the list and go like, okay, I know who some of these guys are, and I know like more of these guys than the average baseball fan, I'm sure. But yeah, like 8 and 9 hole, I got nothing for you. So let's start at the top. The lineup to face Cole Reagans tonight for the Washington Nationals: Dylan Cruz in right field.
Dylan Cruz, bright young prospect, number 2 overall pick, behind Paul Skeens, LSU.
James Wood in left field. You love this guy.
James Wood, most exciting prospect in baseball, although he loses prospect status. Dylan Cruz will still have rookie status next year. James Wood won't.
8 homers, 14 steals for Wood. And he's what is he, 6'7"?
Yes. He's like
Huge.
Aaron Judge.
Big
height.
guy. Juan Yepes at first base.
I don't know a lot about Juan Yepes.
Former Cardinal. I remember him with the Cardinals.
But yeah, they signed him at the beginning or this last offseason to be their first baseman.
Jose Tena, second baseman hitting cleanup. I know this one too. He was in the Cleveland system.
Yes, so that was
Lane
the
Thomas
return
trade, right?
in the Lane Thomas trade, and he's finally getting some big league time.
The only player in this lineup carrying an average over 300 presently, and that is in like a month. K-Bear Ruiz, the switch hitting catcher.
Yes, I will tell you, when I went to the game back in May when I was home for Memorial Day, he was hitting 190. And I think that weekend was the weekend where he got things going because he had a homer, he had a few RBIs in that. He's now up to 224. He's the longest signed player on this team. He has a contract through 2029. This year has been very up and down, but recently, latter half of the year's been up.
That was a very long sentence.
Sorry.
Luis Garcia Jr. is the DH.
Team
leader in home runs and RBI?
Yeah, because the other players are gone, right? Yeah, he's been a player on this team for quite a few years.
I guess active leader, because I think C.J. Abrams was the leader. And in case you missed the news, the all-star shortstop for the Nationals was optioned down to single A, who is not currently playing any games because he went Michael Jordan mode and stayed out till 8 a.m. at the casino near Chicago before a day game on Friday when they were in Chicago last week. I just want to know when we stopped encouraging our young athletes to be like Mike. I'm at a loss.
I think he went to the new
the Valley. It was the Valley.
Valley
That's
Casino.
a very new casino.
Yeah, it also completely tanked my fantasy team in the playoffs. It was very bad to not have an active player in my lineup for a week.
Oh, our shortstop wanted to have a couple of beers. Oh, he wanted to play some roulette. Oh, grow up, Nationals. God.
Jacob Young, center field, batting 7th for the Nationals. Great defensive player.
I was just going to say, Mike Rizzo, the GM, touts him as one of the best defensive players in the majors. He could be Gold Glove winner, center fielder. And one other thing to say here, people are touting it, the outfield, Cruz, Wood, and Young.
Okay.
That's the future of the Washington Nationals outfield.
He is not going to win the Gold Glove. That's going to be Brenton Doyle, the Rock. He's going to win his second.
I'm okay with that. I like Brenton Doyle.
Okay, Trey Lipscomb at third base. I got nothing here. This is a new name to me.
Prospect, third base prospect, not living up to the expectations that are wanted of a third base prospect that we've seen in years past.
And batting ninth, the shortstop, Nasim Nunez.
As you saw in that group text, I know nothing about him.
All right. So there you go. That is your in-depth Washington Nationals scouting report from the DMV Sports Insider. Spencer Dupuis. Couple of fun prospects.
Said 45 at bats.
Okay. Wow. 45 at bats. This should be
career.
This should be a lineup Reagans keeps under control.
Oh, it really should be. The only reason James Wood, a little frisky, Dylan Cruz has got off to a big start, but has really slowed down.
Is Wood hitting lefties? I know he's a big left-handed hitter. Is he hitting lefties at all?
I don't know. I haven't watched a lot lately, to be honest.
I don't blame you. Your team is very far out of the playoff race. I haven't put a Rockies game on purpose since May.
I've watched more Royals lately.
Yeah, lucky you. You've got an extremely fun and exciting on-the-rise baseball team locally who's playing huge, important games going into the postseason.
Yeah, that's exactly
Wait
right.
a minute. Hold on. I'm getting some new information about the current state of the Kansas City Royals.
This just in.
Yeah, the Royals.
This just in.
The Royals line up tonight to face the left-hander
Sucks.
Mitchell Parker.
Let's be blunt. It sucks.
Tommy Pham leads off in left field. Bobby Witt Jr. is at short. Salvi's at first. Yuli Gurriel, who's actually swung the bat pretty well since coming to the Royals, is the DH. Freddie Fermin catching and batting 5th. Hunter Renfroe in right field batting 6th. Michael Garcia bats 7th at 3rd. Garrett Hampson is the second baseman, batting 8th, and Kyle Isbell in center, the only lefty in the starting lineup tonight. He will bat 9th. Loading up on the righties against Mitchell Parker. I will see if that is a good idea. Let me look at the splits. Mitchell Parker against lefties are actually hitting him better than righties. Lefties hitting 279, righties hitting 252. Huh. How about that?
Before we get out of Royals, we do have some news that Aaron Rodgers tweeted a little bit ago. Hunter Harvey and James MacArthur are shut down for the rest of the season. Any chance of them returning in October while Slim before is done now, neither progressing well recently. Harvey is headed for a second opinion in Dallas. Also, Lorenzen officially will start tomorrow, and Alec Marsh to the bullpen.
Yeah, Michael Lorenzen will go tomorrow. Alec Marsh, I mean, they need a strikeout arm in the bullpen. They're missing those guys. Will pitch in the bullpen, and we have seen the last of Hunter Harvey and James MacArthur. They'll both be on the team next year, and that's the only saving grace, really, of the Hunter Harvey trade at this point, is that there is one more year of team control on Hunter Harvey. Hopefully he can get that back right. It was clear he wasn't right. Really, I think even the last couple of weeks in Washington, he had started to waver a bit.
Yeah, I thought he was not going to get traded.
And when he did get traded, came over and just wasn't the same guy he had been for really the last year and change with the Nationals. Hopefully some time to rest this fall, and he can be a big factor in the Royals bullpen in 2025. Anyway, that's your Royals talk to start off our headlines. Brendan, you've got a Chiefs headline, some breaking Chiefs news.
Yep, this just broke right as the last hour came to a close, but the Kansas City Chiefs have officially signed running back Kareem Hunt to the 53-man active roster. Keontae Ingram has been waived. Wouldn't be surprised to see them just flip and Ingram to go back to the practice squad. But after Kareem Hunt was inactive this past week, well, they didn't have to activate him. They just left him on the practice squad for a week. He will be on the 53. Unknown if they will activate him for this game coming up on Sunday against the barren, depleted Los Angeles Chargers. But significant movement for the Chiefs for their big in-season free agent, if you can call it that. It's big in Kansas City because he's obviously a former Chief. I don't really know that we can take a whole lot from this. I still don't think he's going to touch the ball that much, especially if Carson Steele plays the way he did this weekend.
Yeah, he feels like veteran insurance to me at this stage. And I thought Carson Steele, he outperformed my expectations. I don't know how you guys felt about it. I know you were a little more, Spencer, a little more bullish on what he could provide as running back one going into last week than even I was. I thought we'd see a bit more of a split between him and P. Ryan. Yeah. But as far as carries went, it was almost all Carson Steele, and he played well. And when he was called upon to pass protect, he performed well. So I thought it was a good sign. And I think he showed that he can fill in and perform at a level that will keep the Chiefs being efficient on the ground. And I don't know that Kareem Hunt's got the juice in his legs to do that.
No, I don't really think that he does, to be completely honest with you. Steele was fine. I thought P. Ryan was fine in his snaps. I wouldn't, frankly, I wouldn't have signed Kareem Hunt in the first place, but I would not waste a ton of snaps on that project personally.
Don't typically see, I mean, the exception's been Jayhawk McKinnon. McKinnon was running back 3 on the depth chart for a while, but there was a specific role for McKinnon the last couple of years.
Right.
And I don't know that role exists right now in this offense because, if Kareem Hunt is, he's a pass catcher and a pass blocker, Samaje P. Ryan's really good at those things too.
Yeah, the specialized third down back or third running back like Jayhawk McKinnon, and actually what Samaje P. Ryan has been for a lot of his career too.
Yeah.
I almost think you don't put them on the depth chart like you literally do, but they don't fit perfectly on the depth chart. It's like slot receivers a lot. For years and I can give you a reference to my favorite team, for a long time, people say, Randall Cobb is wide receiver 3 in Green Bay. Well, not really, because he's not a wide receiver. He's a slot player. They use him sometimes out of the backfield, but most often out of the slot, in which case he's number 1 on the depth chart in that area. He's not a true wide receiver 3. Jayhawk McKinnon, technically was RB3, but he had a bigger role than Clyde Edwards-Helaire did. And in certain situations, in certain matchups, certain game, time down distance situations, he had a bigger role than Isaiah Pacheco. So you can't put those things, that's not always perfectly congruent. For this group, though, I think Kareem Hunt is very clearly running back number 3. I think that gets thrown out the window for this particular group.
All right, Spencer, give us a headline.
All right. First headline from me actually pertains to the Royals and their minor league affiliate, AAA affiliate. The Omaha Storm Chasers announced they've been sold to the monopoly of minor league baseball owners, Diamond Baseball Holdings, which owns 35 other minor league baseball teams. The team was owned by Gary Green and Larry Botel of Alliance Sports since 2012.
Diamond Sports Holdings owns half of the minor leagues.
Yeah.
So they own a lot of teams, and I don't think this is going to materially change the relationship that the Storm Chasers have with the Royals. I mean, gosh, they were the Omaha Royals for a really long time. They were the Golden Spikes for a little bit. Then they were the Royals again. Then they were the Storm Chasers. But they've been the Royals AAA affiliate since Hector was a pup. Like, it's been forever. I can't imagine that changes. It's been beneficial. It's been good to have the AAA affiliate just literally right up the road in a sense. I don't see that changing even with the change in ownership for the Storm Chasers. Next headline for me. We continue to have conference realignment to talk about. The Pac-12 is suing in federal court, challenging the legality of a poaching penalty, which was included in a football scheduling agreement it signed with the Mountain West Conference in December. Now, you may recall this. When the Pac-12 went down to just two teams, Oregon State and Washington State, the Pac-12, those two teams, came to terms with the Mountain West on a one-year agreement that added 6 Mountain West opponents to each remaining Pac-12 school's schedule this season. As part of that contract agreement, the Mountain West included language that required the Pac-12 to pay a fee of $10 million if a school left the Mountain West for the Pac-12, with escalators of $500,000 for each additional school. The lawsuit argues that this is an anti-competitive and unlawful penalty that the Mountain West imposed on the Pac-12 to inhibit competition for member schools in collegiate athletics. The poaching penalty, according to the suit, saddles the Pac-12 with exorbitant and punitive monetary fees for engaging in competition by accepting Mountain West member schools into the Pac-12. The Mountain West imposed this penalty at a time when the Pac-12 was desperate to schedule football games for its two remaining members and had little leverage to reject this naked restraint on competition. As outlined in the scheduling agreement, right now the Pac-12 owes the Mountain West $43 million in fees because they've already poached 4 teams from the Mountain West: Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State. So that's $10 million per team plus the escalator for each additional team at $500,000. That number jumped up again after Utah State last night accepted an offer to leave the Mountain West for the Pac-12, a move that had other teams that were ready to commit their futures to the Mountain West, most notably UNLV and Air Force, reconsidering their future affiliations with the conference. On the same day those announcements were made about the first 4 schools leaving the Mountain West, the commissioner of the conference, Gloria Nevarez, sent an email to the Pac-12's legal officer noting the Pac-12's obligation to pay that $43 million within 30 days. The Mountain West is reviewing the lawsuit and does not have immediate comment.
So this is my read on the lawsuit situation. The Pac-12, the Pac-2, the 2-Pac, whatever you want to call them, 2-Pac, I guess, they kind of wanted to do a reverse merger. They would have just preferred, we're going to keep the branding, all the assets from the Pac-12 network, all those contracts. We want the Mountain West to bring its 12 teams or whatever, or a majority of those teams over to the Pac-12 branding. We want you to cut the chaff off the bottom. We don't want to bring Hawaii. We don't want to bring New Mexico, but we want to bring the big brands over. The Mountain West said, no, you're desperate. We're in the driver's seat here. So we are going to be the ones who are putting all this together. And if you want to be in a league with us, you're going to play by our rules. So that is when the 2-Pac decided to weaponize the gigantic sum of money they got from their former league mates, gave special privileges to the 4 best programs in the Mountain West, and then said, okay, bet. Because all those programs, if you're Fresno, Boise, Colorado State, San Diego State, the latter of whom has been dying to get into a different conference for a decade at this point, said, we get all this guaranteed money and we get equal voting rights to start the new conference. Yeah, bye. And now you're in a situation where the Pac-2 is going to get what it wanted in the first place. It's going to get those teams from the Mountain West that it originally wanted. Because in this situation, if you are UNLV or, I just dissed them, but New Mexico or whoever, Hawaii, whoever else, which side would you rather be on right now? The side doing the suing or the side getting sued?
Yeah, you always want to be on the side that's suing.
Uh-huh. So I think this is going to end up with the 2-Pac becoming the 8-Pac and being the old Pac-8, I think they're going to get what they want in the end. And that's going to leave the Mountain West poaching from
the Big Sky.
The Big Sky
Adding,
and Conference USA, because they'll take UTEP and New Mexico State probably.
Yeah.
Regional teams.
No.
Probably Sacramento State, from what I've read, really wants to move up to FBS. So I imagine they'll be in the mix too.
And they're like, there's the Sacramento government, the city government's like trying to get them.
Exactly. Yeah, they're really UC Davis is another team that really wants to move up.
There's only one winner here in all of this, as always. Billable hours.
Always.
Billable hours. We'll take a break here. We'll wrap up our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Michael Swain joins us in a bit. First, quick round of what is wrong with you after this timeout from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio on 580 Sports Talk. Time for What is Wrong with You on this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Two news stories today trying to take down our current champion. Why is that panda barking? The zoo in China that painted some dogs to look like pandas and put them in an exhibit and said, those are pandas. Why are they panting and barking? Why do they look like chow chows? They're actually painted. They
are indeed chow chows.
Panda dogs. It's a new breed. It just came out. You probably haven't heard about it. And they had to admit their lie and give some refunds. Two news stories today. Spencer, you go first.
Yeah, while I'm reading this, can one of you guys download the picture and put it on the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God.
We're going to Florida.
Oh my goodness.
We're going to Florida. A man there took hiding evidence to a bizarre new level this week when he decided to ingest cocaine during a traffic stop. Joel Wallace, 40, was speeding on US 19 in Pasco County late Tuesday night when the Florida Highway Patrol tried to pull him over. Instead of complying, Wallace led troopers on a short-lived chase that ended at his own residence because he doesn't want to get arrested because who doesn't want to get arrested in the comfort of their own driveway? It is in a truly next level attempt to avoid drug charges. Wallace reportedly ingested cocaine right before his arrest, possibly believing his digestive system was the perfect hiding spot. Spoiler, it wasn't.
So if you're watching on the YouTube live stream, if you're watching on Facebook right now, again, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, does this look like a man who's just done cocaine?
Maybe he had a powdered donut.
Yeah,
and tried to shove it directly up both of his nostrils.
Honestly, yeah, that does look a little like me after I eat a powdered
sugar.
Oh,
it looks fake. Like this looks like a Saturday Night Live bit. Like the cocaine man.
I tried to hide the cocaine in my nose. Yeah, and I tried to hide the beer in my throat.
Yeah, he was arrested on multiple charges, including fleeing, possession of cocaine, tampering with evidence. Apparently, eating your problems doesn't apply when it comes to illegal substance. Better luck next time, Joel.
There's a picture again.
Seriously, like it looks as that it's. Remember Blue Mountain State, Alex Moran. I love cocaine. That's what.
No, what it reminds me of is the Super Troopers. Kid eats all the magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
Or all the pot when they get pulled over. He's got to eat all the drugs.
Yeah.
He's licking the window. The snozberries taste like snozberries. That's what this guy thought he would do. Yeah, I'll just hide it. There's no way they'll think I actually have cocaine. Sir, it is literally all over your face. We can read it on your face. All right, so my story today takes us to Utah, takes us to Provo. Man who allegedly filed a motion to have the judge in his criminal case removed because of treason and hanged. The man is now facing a new criminal charge. 40-year-old Elijah Nehemiah Madden of Genola in Utah was charged Thursday with threatening a judge. He was charged back in November 2023 with a bunch of crimes, a couple of third-degree felonies and marijuana possession. While representing himself in that case, Madden filed a motion for removal of judge for reason of treason. Part of his motion states, if the judge in his case commits felony treason by failing to protect the U.S. Constitution, then he, quote, will be taken by posse to the nearest busy intersection and hung at high noon, hung by the neck until dead, the body to remain in state till dusk, as an example to anyone who takes his oath of office lightly.
Jeez.
After the threat was allegedly made, another judge ruled on the motion and found no valid grounds on which to disqualify the judge in the case. Back in 2022, Madden was arrested for standing in the middle of I-15, waving his arms while carrying a gun in his holster. He was arrested after a sheriff's deputy used a taser and a second deputy tackled him from behind. Inventory search revealed an AR-15 style firearm, along with several magazines, armor-piercing ammunition, open bottles of tequila and whiskey. Apparently, that is such a violation of this man's constitutional rights. He thinks the judge ought to be hanged in the nearest busy intersection.
This guy thinks it's like early Utah territory days out there, apparently.
Wild. So 2 wild stories today. Brendan, who you got?
I'm going with the cocaine nose job guy because it's outlandish.
Yeah.
That's why. The other one is truly what is wrong with you. I mean, that's a great story. This dude just has coke all over his nostrils.
He does.
It's so slapstick.
Any other week, it would be easy to move that one along.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Dude, they painted dogs. They literally took, like they went to whatever the Chinese version of Joanne is, and they bought paint with a little acrylic brush and painted some chow chows.
Incredibly well-behaved dogs to sit through all that.
Oh, amazingly well-behaved.
And they said, oh, yeah, people will think these are pandas because pandas act just like dogs. No, the hell they don't.
You know how I know? Pandas don't woof.
Why is that panda barking? That's our winner still on What Is Wrong With You. Michael Swain joins us next for Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk.
Last break.
It is Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline for Jayhawk Weekly. We do it every Tuesday at this time here on 580 Sports Talk. Subscribe today to 24/7 Sports, Fog.net. Get great inside information on the Jayhawks 247. Michael, another fourth quarter collapse, I guess you could call it, for the Kansas Jayhawks on Saturday as they fall at West Virginia. Is there a through line here with all of these fourth quarter losses that is most troubling, or is there not really any one thing you can really credit all of this to?
Yeah, I think the most troubling thing is the fact that this is a team of 30 seniors that have been there in these types of games before, and the fact that just it doesn't really matter what phase of the game you're talking, the team just hasn't executed. And that, for me, is super concerning, because when you go about college football and college sports generally, right, the premium is on experience. It's guys that have been in those moments before, and that so that when the moment gets big, they don't stretch and reach and try and do things that they know they can't do. And I just think the way that I think this is something that is compounded now, where KU obviously, starts the season, loses at Illinois, makes some mistakes, right? That game comes down to Jalen Daniels throwing 3 interceptions. Then UNLV happens, and then I think that's really when you start to see some of the pressing start to happen. No better example than the fumble, right? These guys are taught in practice, get on the ball, recover the ball, not scoop and score. And what happens in that moment is everyone tries to scoop and score. And then what I think you saw last week is just a continuation of that, where guys, I think, in the fourth quarter really are stressing and trying to make plays. And when that happens, maybe you take a step further beyond yourself and what you're coached to do and what you've trained to do. And that leads to mistakes. And I think you could see that for KU on the defensive side of the ball when it comes to just tackling, right? I think guys trying to go in and make, home run plays instead of wrapping up and tackling Garrett Green a couple times. I think you'd see it on a play with like Marvin Grant on the sideline, that personal foul. That comes from a guy that wants to go make that play, really go make that tackle. And is that a bang-bang play? Should that have been a flag? Probably not. But still, it's another example of, I think, KU, these players really want to win. And they're trying to do as much as they can to win. And I think sometimes that results in errors. And I think you saw a lot more of those errors pop up this season than I think we saw maybe even in some of these games last season. I think Saturday is just another example of that kind of unfolding.
Did you feel like the offense was any better, appreciably better on Saturday? Because I thought they did some good things. I think they've done good things really in all 4 games, but there have been some untimely turnovers and then a play call on 3rd down with a chance to ice the game that I still don't frankly comprehend. Is there enough good going on under the hood to make you think that more consistency offensively is still possible?
Well, I think the offense has improved, right? Over the first couple weeks of the season. And look, KU's offense did enough to win on Saturday. And I agree with you, that 3rd down play call, right? That's the one that for me, like, if you look throughout the course of the game, I felt pretty good about what KU was calling, right? Jalen throws the interception. All right, he shouldn't have thrown that ball. But generally, I didn't hate what KU was trying to do on offense. All of a sudden, the screen game wasn't a super prevalent part. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting development. But I think for KU, right, it comes down to, all right, how much do you trust Jalen Daniels? Right? That's really the question here for offense. Because I think you saw there on that 3rd down, right, obviously you do want to run out the clock and make, West Virginia use another timeout. But if you got a star quarterback, right, you put the ball in his hands, whether that be through a speed option that we saw KU run a lot and have success with, whether that's an RPO or whether that's a straight drop back, right? There are 3 different options. And they went with the 4th option, which is a handoff. And I think that indicates just some of where things are at with Jalen right now. I think he has looked better week over week. That's positive, right? He's gone from 3 interceptions to 2 down to 1. Maybe this week will be the first game that he doesn't throw an interception. But I think for KU offensively, there are still things that show that you think, all right, KU is really good at running the ball. That's pretty clear now. Now it's a question of where does this passing game go for here? And that for me is going to unlock whether this is a team that consistently can put up point totals kind of in that, mid-30s, maybe getting 40 every once in a while, or if this is an offense that's going to cap out at about 28 points a game. And that's going to be the big question, right? Just how does Jalen look? And I think a quarterback can really account for another touchdown, not throwing a pick, right? Those types of plays.
Michael Swain is our guest. He covers the Kansas Jayhawks better than anybody over at fog.net and 24/7 Sports. Go be a VIP for all the best insight into what's going on with KU football, basketball, recruiting, and so much more. Again, that's at fog.net. Michael joins us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk. To continue the point about Jalen Daniels, in your belief, your analysis, Michael, what's the ceiling for JD this year? Because going into the season, assuming he was fully healthy and the offense would be, fairly seamlessly transitioning from Kotelnicki to Grimes, the common thought was maybe he's even dark horse in the conversation for a Heisman Trophy. Maybe he is first team all Big 12 caliber. Right now, from what you've seen, and after seeing him play better against West Virginia, albeit not great, what do you think the ceiling is for him?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think, man, I don't know. I can still see the moments where you can see the ceiling. It just is so much, I think, in his own head. Where, right, you look at some of these interceptions, right? I'm a 49ers fan. Jimmy Garoppolo for the 49ers developed this thing where he threw it out of the screen and you're just like, oh my God, I have no clue what's going to happen. 2 years ago, you watched Jalen throw the ball out of the screen. You're like, oh, this is caught. Some guy's probably running wide open. And I think something has changed here. I think a part of that is a change in coordinator and some of the tweaks that have come from that. I think some of that might be just a guy that is not the last 2 years. And I still feel like Jalen shows those flashes where he can be a top 3rd quarterback in Big 12. What's a realistic expectation for him over the next couple weeks? I think, hey, can you just not turn the ball over? Can you be a guy that maybe is a, really maybe a 1 touchdown passing per game, because KU's run offense is good enough. And their offensive line is good enough to pave the way. Can you not turn the ball over? And can you make those key throws when they need to be made? Because you look back at that game on Saturday, and there were 2 throws to Luke Grimm that I can think of, and even another one to Lawrence Arnold, where I'm like, man, if Jalen makes that throw that is either a big play to Luke Grimm or it moves the chains on 3rd down to Lawrence Arnold, those are some of those high leverage plays that you haven't seen a bunch of from Jalen. So those are the areas where I feel like if he can take a step forward in that, yeah, I think he can get back to being kind of one of those top, 5, 6 quarterbacks in the conference. Because right now I think he's middle of the road, probably, maybe even slightly into the bottom half. But it all comes down to him for just not turning the ball over, because this KU team is good enough where if you don't turn the ball over, it can win games. What killed KU is the turnovers.
Do you think that this wide receiver room could do more to help out their quarterback? And I'm not trying to pick on anyone, because Michael, we've talked for years now about how much I love this wide receiver room. But is there more that they can do to help out their quarterback, or does this really just come down to what's between the ears and what the throwing is like for JD6?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I wish I could give you a really good answer. I think when I look at the wide receivers, there haven't been a ton of drops. And that's initially what I would go to and think of is like, okay, if the guy's been dropping passes, I can think of maybe 1 or 2 that hit off the hands of guys. I just think this comes down to, can those guys win their individual matchups? Because you're going to see a lot more teams really try and blitz the quarterback and put pressure on this offensive line. Because I think it's been solid, this offensive line, especially in the run game. But I think what West Virginia showed is that, hey, if you start bringing delayed blitzes, you can get pressure. And when you get pressure, Jalen is not the same quarterback, and no quarterback is. So I think for them, it's just a question of, hey, when you get those one-on-one matchups, can you win it in less than 3 seconds? And that's what it's going to come down to, because I just think the blueprint has been laid, much like with KU basketball last season, when teams showed that do not guard KU's 3-point shots. And all of a sudden, they didn't do that, and KU ran into some big issues. I think we've seen some blueprints laid here where teams are going to come in and play man defense, try and crank up the pressure on the quarterback, and really force KU to beat it with the passing game.
TCU coming to Kansas City to take on the Jayhawks on Saturday. They gave up a boatload of points to SMU. 66-42 was the final score in the Iron Skillet game this past weekend. It'll be KU's first game at Arrowhead Stadium this season, the first of 4. What do you think the crowd is going to be like, Michael?
I really don't know, because I know ticket sales were really solid to start. But that's before the way this season has unfolded. And I thought Lance Leipold had a good message yesterday in the press conference talking about, if you're not frustrated, you're not a real fan. Because, you're frustrated. And of course, everyone else is frustrated with the way this has started. But I still wonder, it's $50 for parking. Tickets are on the cheaper side, but you add in all the fees. If you got a family, are you going to take the time to drive from Lawrence, right, or all the way out to AC Mo for this? I don't know. And part of me is really interested to see, because I think this will be a very good litmus test for what the baseline Kansas football fan base looks like. Because I think for a long time, you could go to KU games, and there was a solid kind of 20 to 25,000 that were there every single week. You'd like to think that's grown over the last couple of years, how consistent KU has been and how they've improved. But it's still a challenge, and filling stadiums is a challenge anywhere in college sport, even pro sport. And so I think for this game, it is maybe one of the more interesting crowds I'll be interested to see, because I don't really know what to expect. And I think regardless, the secret's 45 in Arrowhead, there's still 30,000 gathering. It's going to be a really weird thing to look at. And the fact the upper deck is open, I think is going to create a different dynamic too, where I think it's going to look a little bit more spread out. I'm just really interested.
KU to get off the schneid and beat this TCU team that, like KU, has really struggled last couple of weeks.
Totally. I think for KU, it starts with running the ball. Sonny Dyke said it today, but he's expecting KU to run the ball 75% of the time. TCU can't stop the run. They suck. They can't do it. If you look at any sort of number, right, it tells you that they can't do it. So KU's got to run the ball and run the ball well, because that allows you to control the clock. And if you're efficient with your run game and you control the clock, all of a sudden KU's defense isn't on the field for as long. And this is a TCU team that has a good quarterback. They've got some really good wide receivers and a decent offensive line. And so it's a group that I think is going to come in and try and be explosive, just like West Virginia. And so for KU on defense, it's going to be a question of, A, can KU's pass rush get any sort of pressure? And B, can KU's cornerbacks just take a step forward over last week and be a little bit more competitive in those moments when, you need a guy to be not even a yard away from a wide receiver, because it felt like, against West Virginia, there were some guys that were pretty open. So I think those are probably the two biggest keys. And if KU can run the ball and stop TCU's passing attack, I think that's a recipe for a win.
Michael Swain will cover from every angle over at fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. You can also follow him on Twitter at mswain247. You can hear him every Tuesday at this time on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline here on 580 Sports Talk for what we call Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, it's always a pleasure. Enjoy covering the game at Arrowhead, and we'll talk to you next week.
Awesome. Sounds great, guys. Talk to you next week.
That is Michael Swain. We'll take one final break, come back with the final word, wrap up this shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk after this. We are wrapping up an abridged version of 580 Sports Talk ahead of Royals baseball with a final word. Spencer Dupuis, hit us.
I may regret saying this at some point or another, but things are different in Washington, D.C. Things are different. I am so used to the misery, the pessimism that I've had over the last 24 hours is crazy. But Jaden Daniels might just be him.
I'm happy for you.
He might.
Yes.
He might be Himothy. It's true.
Also, very going to be an interesting 3-game set for me to watch.
Very much so.
Baseball side.
Who are you rooting for?
I don't know. I guess the Royals, because I want to see them get in the playoffs.
Right, the
There
team
you
you've
go.
cared about your whole life versus I would like to talk about the Royals a little bit longer this
Yeah.
year.
Content. Root for content.
Yes, content always root for content.
Brandon, final word.
Yeah, my final words about this Royals team. Man, I hate to say it. I hope this team gets in. I still am clinging to the belief they are going to make it into the postseason a week from now. I think it's going to happen. Boy, howdy, though. You want to talk about limping in. They are barely crawling into the postseason. This lineup they're throwing out there tonight is icky, to say the least. I'm hoping for the best. Rely on your best players, and that means tonight, rely on Cole Reagan. We need 7, Cole. We need 7 good ones.
Yeah, we need just good. We'll take quality from Cole Reagan's, even if it's not necessarily quantity, because this Royals offense has struggled so much. I think Jeffrey has it exactly right in our YouTube live chat. To me, the Royals playoffs start now. If you wanted playoff baseball, you wanted high stakes, you wanted feeling like every out matters, you wanted feeling like it's do or die, we're here, right now. These final 6 games of this regular season for the Kansas City Royals, they all mean exactly that much. And it starts tonight, and there's no better way to start it than with your best starting pitcher on the mound in Cole Reagan's. Royals just got to back him. Even just one hit with runners in scoring position. It feels like a team that just needs to break the seal. But do they have the dudes to do it? That's the big question. We're hopeful as they start this series with the Nationals tonight. Again, first pitch at 5:40. We're giving way to the Royals Baseball Network here at the top of this 5 o'clock hour.
5:45.
5:45, my apologies. It'll be the same schedule tomorrow, so we'll be with you from 3 until 5 on tomorrow's show. We'll talk to Tim Fitzgerald and K-State junior linebacker Desmond Purnell. For Brendan, for Spencer, I'm Dan. This was 580 Sports Talk. See ya.